Good afternoon. I thought I'd do a video today about my friend Richard Talaska. There's so much sadness in the world and people angry over politics, and we just live in such crazy times. I wanted to talk about my friend Richard Talaska, who was born with Spina Bifida. Here's a picture of Richard. Richard was born in 1951. Spina bifida literally means cleft spine. It is characterized by incomplete development of the brain, spinal cord, and the protective covering around the brain and the spinal cord. I met Richard in 1964 when I moved to Greendale, Wisconsin. We met at an orthopedic school for disabled children. It was called Irving. That was in West Dallas. He was 2 years older than me, and he was paralyzed from the waist down. He walked on crutches and swung through them. It was amazing how he could because his legs were paralyzed and he did not wear braces. And his legs, if you look at them, they were pretty skinny. And he basically used his legs just to balance on so he could swing the crutches through again and keep moving. And it was pretty incredible how he could do that. And he had such strength in his arms. He was very independent. He took care of his personal needs, which all disabled people have to deal with in their own way. I never learned about, I was educated much about what paraplegics had to do. I knew they had trouble with bowel programs and they had to wear leg bags. Rich and I never talked about it, but there were rooms for paralyzed students at the school, and he always went in there and took care of himself by himself. One part of my disability that I'm thankful I never had to deal with my cerebral palsy, but paralyzed people have to deal with this daily. We lived about a mile away from each other, and we could go to each other's house. He was a very quiet, kind, shy person, and very smart. He and his brothers loved cars. Even down in the basement, we would go downstairs, and they had those large little track cars, and the whole basement was set up with one big track, and we would race cars all day down in the basement. I envied the way that he had such strength in his hands, and he could bounce up and down stairs, whereas whenever I had to go up and down stairs, I had to be careful using the railing and worrying about falling. It's just one of those things that I always had to think about because I couldn't brace myself if I fell because of my hands. But if I wanted to get up and down stairs, I just had to do it. Richard and his family loved to stay home. He and his family went to St. Alphonsus Catholic Church every Sunday morning at 5 a.m. Richard never swore or put people down. He was really very cool. I didn't at this age either, but he never did. Can't say the same for me. After 3 years, I started regular school, and Richard chose not to go to Greendale High School, and I went to the intermediate school. He wanted to go to school with the other disabled kids. Can't blame him because there was a facility set up for his needs. When I started regular school, he was in high school, and we didn't talk that much to each other or see each other for a few years. I was busy adjusting to regular school, smoking cigarettes, pot, and drinking some, so I would not be bullied or picked on. But I also talked to my doctor at this time in the 60s and 70s about pot and how it affected my body and in certain ways it helped me, and then in certain ways it didn't. So he said, be careful with it and don't abuse it. Also, at this time, I wanted to forget about going to school with other disabled kids, all about the surgeries, all about my physical therapy I had for the years. I remember seeing Richard on the news his senior year of high school. He was laying on a gurney cart straight out, and they had done back surgery and showed him in a hospital cart laying down. He graduated with a 4.0 and became a 4.0, and he became an accountant for this company. He and his family moved 25 minutes away to be more out in the country. He and his two older brothers, and he had a couple sisters too, but he and his older brothers always lived with their parents. They never moved out of the house. They all worked, but they never left home. They liked this property too because they were working on cars. The picture I showed you, Richard's red car, that was the car that he stored for the winter, and then in the rest of the year he drove another car. After I got my license, I called him up, and I was the one that told him about hand controls. And his first car was a Gremlin that he used with hand controls, and then he upgraded after he saved his money. Richard and I talked on the phone, but not till many years after moving to California. In his 40s, he had a stroke, and he could still walk on his crutches a little bit, but not great distances. And he had to use a wheelchair, and he used it to go to work. One night in 2008, he wasn't feeling well, and he went to bed to go to sleep and passed away at age 56. If more people were like him, the world would be a lot better place. I shared this story because of all the sadness in the news and politics we hear about daily. I am glad he was my friend, and at times I wish I was more like him. He set a very good example. If I ever feel sorry for myself, or the fact that I have to get out of my wheelchair and transfer into another wheelchair to use the bathroom or whatever, I should be grateful for my disability. Like I said, he died at 56. I'm 62 now, almost 63. I never tried to take my disability for granted, and those who have passed on, I always remember how they touched me and how I should be thankful, and I'm thankful that they were part of my life. Thank you. Have a good day. See you later. Peace out.